Hey there guys, how you doing? I thought I'd do a little video on kids and competing and pressure and things like that. And I think I can speak on it as a little bit of an expert because I was the result of really high pressure sports parenting and stuff like that as a kid. My dad was pretty serious in the military in South Africa. I had a mum who was a competitive tennis player, and I just got driven super hard into being a very, very high achieving athlete when I was very, very young, and basically didn't have a childhood. It was just all training. And yes, I know that it's paid off in a lot of ways because, I'm a good athlete and I achieved a lot of things in sports and stuff like that. But the downside was that most of the pressure and most of the energy that I was trying to use to achieve, the pressure wasn't positive pressure. Well, for example, I didn't hear "I love you" from my mother until I was 30. Yeah. And it took a lot of therapy to get to the point of realizing that, right? So, the only time I got any sort of praise or any sort of something that resembled love was when I would win something. And even then, I remember winning my first karate tournament and I went home with a big trophy and showed Dad. And he's like, "How many kids did you knock out?" And I said, "No, it was a points tournament." And he just broke the trophy over his leg and threw it in the rubbish. And he goes, "Next time, knock them all out or don't bother." Right? So that was the kind of parenting that I was receiving, right? It was not very good. And I'm not saying that the parents out there who are encouraging their kids to compete or do well in sports are as narcissistic and messed up as my parents. But the messaging can be the same. And I think that I spend a lot of time researching and studying the psychological effects of training and how to coach kids, how to coach adults better, how we learn, the things that prevent us from learning, like stress and fear and things like this. I spend a lot of time because I'm very interested in it. Those of you that follow my channel know I was considering becoming a psychologist. That was kind of my original goal when I set up my first jiu-jitsu academy, was to get it self-sustaining and then step away so I could become a sports psychologist. But it didn't happen, right? And everything kind of happens for a reason, but I spend a lot of time researching it now, and I try and use the knowledge that I gain to help my students, both on the mats and privately. I have quite a few students come and speak to me outside of class. They're going through difficult things, and I try and do my best to kind of help them with what I know and what I've been through, and give them insight sometimes to themselves that maybe other people aren't giving. I'm sometimes it feels scary, like I might be overstepping my mark as a coach, but if I see something going on, either with a parent or with the kids or with a student, then I feel that I know it's an act of love. That's where it's coming from, right? That I care about the person. Whether they're my student or not, I care about people, and I want them to be able to live their best lives. And if I see somebody struggling with a particular issue consistently, then I'll kind of approach it with them and say, "Hey, how are you feeling? Like, I kind of noticed this about you. Like, do you want to chat about it?" And stuff like that. But anyway, we had a tournament last weekend, and some of the kids did exceptionally well, and some, of course, don't perform that well. But what was really interesting was seeing the varying parenting styles, and regardless of whether the kid won or lost, then the way that win or loss affected them. And generally the higher pressure parents, the kids responded to losing very, very poorly, right? So the low pressure parents. So I was saying this morning, I was chatting to my guys and I said that expectations, like proportion, God, it's too early in the morning to be doing this, but the level of disappointment will be proportionate to the expectations placed on them, or that the kids place on themselves because they feel pressure to have to do well to appease their parents. So they'll feel, either way, they're feeling pressure from the parents, whether it's direct pressure, like you have to do well. Why did you do that? You don't do that in training, whether it's quite harsh parenting or harsh coaching like that, or whether it's like imagined by the kid and not noticed by the parent that the kid is trying to please them in some way, and as the kid's putting a lot of pressure on themselves, like I was as a kid. I mean, I kind of got it both ways, but that I was trying to appease my parents to receive love that I wasn't getting in any other way. So it's something for parents out there to really pay attention to and think about. And it's really hard for me seeing kids like get catastrophically upset when they lose. And I mean, sure, for the younger kids who are like, 4 to say 8, somewhere in there, 4 to 8, 4 to 9, something like that, then almost always one of the kids, the losing kid, almost always cries, regardless of whether they got submitted, regardless of whether they just feel that they've let somebody down. They feel sad because they didn't win, but usually they can bounce back, 5 minutes time, their next match is up or whatever, and they've kind of rubbed their eyes, got a hug from mum and dad, and they're back and do it again. Awesome. But the problem occurs is where like that doesn't happen, and it just accumulates and accumulates and accumulates, and you can just see them just breaking down. And so, I've had a word to some of the parents and stuff like this, and I do my best to just, make all the kids, like, for example, I pay the kids $5 for each submission they get, but I say, I don't care if you win or lose. It doesn't matter. It's just an experience. It's fun. Go out there and try and fight some kids and do your best, but ultimately, I don't care whether you win or lose. But if you do get a submission, it's $5, right? So that way the kids hunt submissions because they want $5 and we make it lots of fun. And I never berate them for losing, and I congratulate them either way. I always just say if they lose, I go, hey man, like you're going to get better with every match. The more you fight, the better you're going to get, the better you're going to get at competing. So I'm like, hey, you're going to get better in your next match. Just keep going. It's fine. And then as the day progresses, then they do get better, because they've won and lost so much during the day, they've almost lost track of it. And then they kind of just go, well, it doesn't matter because like I won some, I lost some, whatever, I'll just go out and try. Like I kind of feel the same whether I win or lose. And they just kind of get on with it. And for first-time competitors, it can be quite daunting, but their expectations are usually quite low, right? Because they're like, oh, I've never done it before. And I'm like, well, that's great. Just give it a go. If you don't enjoy it, you don't have to compete again. It's no problem at all. But just make sure as parents that you're not lumping pressure on them, And I know that I think the hardest thing is when the parents don't train and they've never done jiu-jitsu and they don't understand like what the pressure feels like. They don't know how difficult it is to learn it and how emotional it is losing and confronting your insecurities because they've never been through it. They don't understand. And I see the parents who are best at coaching their kids or at managing their kids' expectations are the ones who train, because they too are going through exactly the same emotions and fears and insecurities and all this sort of thing as their kids. So they're on the same page. It's like we're all doing this together, and I feel the same way. I understand how you feel. So there's no way that they're going to lump pressure on the kids because they know how difficult it is already. Given that the majority of parents don't train, then it's very easy for the parents to like get carried away and like want to push their kid and They're living vicariously through their kid. Don't do that. That is terrible, right? Your kid is not a mini you. They are not you, yeah? They came from you, but they're not you. They are a separate human being doing their own thing with their own feelings and emotions and thoughts, goals, aspirations, and all that stuff. So treat them like that, yeah? And my coaching staff, I teach them how to teach kids. We treat them like they're mini adults. We show respect, yeah, and caring, and we don't treat them like the silly little kids. You know, we have fun with them. It's the same vibe, and the kids and the adults, because I know, and I've studied and learned, that a fun environment is more convivial to retention and learning than a serious one, because your barriers go up, your fight or flight reflex comes on when you're in a tense environment, right? And then you're not receptive to learning. So you want to have it fun, you know, not silliness, but even a little bit of silliness sometimes is fine to break the pressure and have some fun, have a joke, you know, and I want to make it fun for the adults, and I want to make it fun. I want it to be a fun place that you come to, that you want to go to train, you know, that you walk in and people are high-fiving and joking and laughing and having a good time, you know. And then a good example is like when you're drilling with someone who's trying to resist you all the time, yeah, right? You're trying to drill a move and the other person's literally trying to fight you back, and then you're trying to fight to get the technique done. There's no learning taking place, yeah? Because all you're doing is getting mad at the person that you're trying to drill with, but you don't want to say anything, right? And so it's my job to identify that as the coach and come up and explain how destructive that behavior is, yeah? Unless that's the goal, right? But if you're trying to learn a technique early on, you just want a compliant partner, you know, who's not like spaghetti, but offers a tiny little bit of resistance just so you can practice the move, yeah? If the person's fighting you and you're fighting them, there's no learning taking place, yeah? Because you're mad and you're emotional, and then your fight or flight goes up, and no one's winning out of that situation. Unless later on, once you've learnt it well, and then you want to pressure test it, that's different. But when you're trying to learn something, make it fun, keep it relaxed, be compliant, and as a parent of the kids who are training, make sure everything's fun. Going to training is fun, yeah? Right? Like some parents have the kids at home drilling relentlessly, and the parents don't even train. You know, the parent is not even putting on the gi and probably training with them, you know? So it's hard to see, it's tough to watch, you know, and as someone who just sits there and I'm watching all of this go on with the kind of self-learning I've been doing for 20 odd years about how to do this, then, you know, I always go and have a word to the parents and make sure that, you know, that the pressure is as low as it can be. You know, these kids are young, you know, they're anywhere from for 5 to 10 years old, man. Training's got to be fun for them, you know. When they hit their mid-teens, when they're 15, 16 and stuff like that, and then, you know, there's a bit of testosterone pouring through their body and they're starting to grow into this mature body that can do cool things. They start to naturally, especially the boys, become quite competitive with people of the same sex. And I'm assuming that the similar thing happens for girls. Yeah, is that we'll start competing when you start thinking about the opposite sex and attracting them and am I attractive and who am I going to attract and who am I attracted to, and all that sort of stuff is going on. Then both sexes, I see, start to become more competitive. They start paying more attention to what their body looks like, how their hair looks, you know, and that's a whole nother nightmare of itself. But we're trying to prepare the kids in these early years so that when they get to that stage in their life, then they can be strong in their convictions, and if they you know, if they have friends that are trying to lead them down a negative path, that they have the self-confidence to say, no, I don't want to do that, you know, and to be able to make good choices, that the choices that they want to make, so that they're not going to be so easily led by peer pressure, that they have self-control, that they have self-confidence and self-belief, you know. And the kids that lack that, you know, take, for example, I'll just draw an example out of the air. If a kid's training is not fun, if the parent has lumped a lot of pressure on that kid and the kid is losing in tournaments and is upset as a result and is stressed by the training because they feel that they're not doing well enough, and they're trying to like do all this crazy research at home and all these sorts of things. It's not fun anymore. And kids want to have fun. So the problem occurs not so much then. When they start hitting their mid-teens, going out a little bit more by themselves with friends, going to the park, whatever, if they start getting led down a path that's negative, drugs, alcohol, crime, whatever it happens to be, and that represents fun, then you've got a big problem because of the pressure that they had and the thing that was supposed to be fun that's not fun, and kids want to have fun, they're going to start heading down that negative path because it's fun with people who see it as being fun. There's not going to be any pressure, or they're going to have the support of their peers. They're kind of rebellious towards their parents at that stage anyway. And so like that can be the consequences, like I think a lot of the time parents are thinking only really short term about how this affects their kid, right? And I can tell you, as a child who went through that, when I hit my 20s, I wasn't a criminal or anything like that. Like I was out partying and going crazy because I didn't have a childhood. It was nothing but furious training, like 6 hours a day, every day, non-stop. And so once I left home and that pressure wasn't there anymore, now I could have fun. And I overdid my having of fun because I didn't have any fun in my childhood. Yeah, it was really, really, really super tough. I'd be getting home at midnight, 1 o'clock from training. I'd hardly be sleeping. I'd be falling asleep on my desk at school. Then I get in trouble with the teachers and I couldn't concentrate at school. And like, it was terrible. So for the parents out there of kids who train, get on the mat or get a gi, get some mats at home and make it fun. Make sure it's something that you both do together, right? Or just make sure that you're training at the gym, or take all the pressure off the kid. Keep it really fun. Whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. You love them the same, and really genuinely reinforce that with your behavior. There's absolutely no point saying to the kid, hey, it doesn't matter. I don't mind if you won or lost in the comp. And then go home and try and do like an hour a day drilling on the techniques that they screwed up in the tournament. Like, that's not taking the pressure off. Let it be kid driven. Yeah. If the kid comes to you and says, hey dad, can we do this because of what happened in the weekend? Or when I was in class today, like I was getting stuck in this position. Can you help me work on that at home? Yeah. So I can get better. Awesome. Right. Okay. That's a great way to do it. Let the kid decide. Yeah. But if when the kid leaves the mat, the parent says, hey, that position today, I was filming it, I took photos, like we can go home and drill that if you want. The kid's not going to say no because he wants to please you. Yeah. And then the kid's going to end up resenting you. Now he's like this high pressure kid again, and none of it's fun. So obviously the message for today is keep training fun. Take the pressure off if you're a parent. Yeah. Like, always make it fun. Make the whole thing about it fun. You come to a tournament, that's fun too. They win or lose, doesn't matter. I love you anyway. It's all great. Yeah? Right? Okay, so anyway, that's my message for the parents. And if there's any teenagers out there listening, then, pay attention to that stuff because, it can bite you in the butt later on in life if it's not enough. If you don't have enough fun and playfulness in your childhood, then it could come out later on, and that can be pretty negative as well. Anyway, have a great day. Get on the mat, enjoy your training, have fun, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.